Hello, brothers and sisters. Came back with another word, and this one is called "You Were Made for Greatness." Okay, it's based off of this movie called, I think it's Saving Grace or something like that. The movie will be in the description if you want to watch it. But basically, what God was saying here was, it was this girl. She was in poverty, and her name was Grace. And she, one day she was walking around, and she ran into this guy. He had a bag full of money. He dropped a lot of money out of this envelope, and she seen it, and she picked it up and she gave it to him. She said, "Sir, you dropped the money." He said, "Oh, he told her thank you. He was really grateful that she gave him the money that she dropped because she was homeless. She could have took it and did whatever with it, but she was an honest, loving person. She would not have done that." So he ended up giving her some money, and at first she wouldn't take it, and he told her to take it and go have lunch and do some stuff for herself. So not only did he give her money, he gave her this pamphlet that said a drop of water only takes so much, and it can become an ocean depending on what you put, towards it or something like that. It was some type of pamphlet referring to water. So when she took the money, instead of going to eat, she went to this factory where you can get a thing of water, little things of water, and you can sell them on the street, because this is something that they did in Africa a lot. They would always get bundles of stuff, buy it and sell it and make more money, and then just keep flipping it. So she goes to this factory, she gets the water, she sells it, she goes back. That's just something she did, and she saved money. And so her and her friend, because she lost her family and so did her friend, and they were homeless together, and she was saving so she can get a place. So she would do that and flip it, and she would put up the money and save money. And so it was this woman where they would go see her every time they wanted to rest. They would sit at her store and rest. And this woman knew who Grace was from the beginning. And that's why I'm saying, no matter what situation you're in, you could be poor, living on the street, and there's people that's envious you because they know who you are. They can sense who you are, and they are sent on an assignment from the enemy. It has nothing to do with what you look like on the outside. It's about your inside. They sense something about you, and she knew Grace was greatness. And she would always give her all this riffraff, and she tried to get them to sell their body for money, because she did to get that store. She would mess with men and get money and do that. So she tried to get them to do it. And so the friend ended up, she was like, "You can come live with me and get off the street, and I'll help you and these men. You can have you a car, you can have you a phone, you can have all this stuff." And she's like, "Oh, I want that." So the friend ended up leaving and starting living with her and start messing with men for money. And she ended up getting a phone and all this little stuff, trinkets. But Grace told her no, she was not going to do that. Her morals and her integrity would not let her do that. She don't care how bad it got. So one day, she goes to her stash to look for her money that she had been saving up, and it was gone. Somebody had took it. So she was devastated. She goes to the store and she's crying, and she's like, "Somebody took all my money. I had just enough to give me a place. I don't know what I'm going to do." And the girl told her to get away from here. I don't want you here, because she never really liked her. She was envious of her, and she started telling her kind of the truth of how she felt. So Grace just went on, and she went to the factory where the woman she would buy water from would, sell to her. So she started crying, and she told her she lost the money to give to her so she can get some more water and flip it. But the lady said it was okay. She was like, "It's okay. It's fine. I got something better for you. How about," she said, "I've been watching you." She said, "And you're a great worker." She said, "Why don't you come work for me?" So she asked the boss to train her, and she said, "Then I can help you and get you a place to live and get you set up, So she said, "Okay." So she comes and she starts working at the factory with the water, and he trained her and everything. So one day she goes out to the trucker, she loads the truck with water, and she comes back with a stack of money, and she gives it to the head guy that trained her, and he takes half of the money and gives her some and put the rest in his pocket. And so she said, why did you put that money in your pocket? And he says, because they don't pay us enough and I have a family to feed and this and that. It's okay. It's nothing wrong with that. Basically he was stealing. And she said, no, that's not okay. And he was like, look, either you get with all of us or you find another job, because that's how we work here. And if you don't work the way we work, then you won't last. So what she did, because she had a good heart and she had integrity, and then she was a great person and she was with God. So she goes to the head boss and she tells her what happened. And so she said, oh no. And he told her, she's not going to believe you because I've been working here all these years. She won't believe you. You just started. You're a newbie. So she goes and tells her, and she told her no. She didn't believe her. He's been with me for so many years, da da da. So when she came downstairs from the office from telling the lady, they were sitting there eating and drinking for lunch, and he laughed and he said, see, I told you she would believe you because we've been here all this time. We told you either you get with the program or you're going to, or you're going to end up having to find another job because you won't make it here. And so Grace told him, she said, I don't care. No matter what, I'm not going to steal. I'm going to work and get the money that I worked for. I won't steal from anybody. If it wasn't given to me, it's not mine. So she, basically went off on him, not knowing that it was a setup for her blessing. So the next day, she gets called into the office and she was scared because she didn't know what was going on. But the man that did that was actually the owner, and the woman was the owner, and they were brother and sister. They owned the company. So he basically, him and his sister was in the office. And so he told her, he said no, because she was afraid. And he said, no, don't be afraid. He said, what I did was a test. Me and my sister were testing you. See, my sister's sick and she has to go over to the United States because if she doesn't get the proper treatment, she would die. So we were trying to see who was an honest, loyal person to give our company to, because we want somebody to have it that is a good person, that has godly morals. So they said, we test you and you pass. We want to sign our company over to you. So they gave her the paperwork. She started crying and she couldn't believe it, because when she was in her situation, she didn't see a way out of it. She was like, she was crying out to God. She said, how am I going to overcome this? My money got stole. I don't know where to start. I have nothing. But she became a millionaire overnight, basically. That happened in a day. And on the whole couple of days that happened, she became a millionaire overnight. So what he's saying here is that when your situation looks hopeless, it looks like it's never going to revive itself, he had somebody watching you the whole time that's going to come and revive your situation in ways you could never explain. And that movie, you wouldn't have seen it coming. She didn't see it coming, and she couldn't believe that. And it just, in a quick blink of an eye, she was a millionaire overnight, and she had a company that she never seen herself having. And then she didn't even build it. Somebody else did from the ground up. And all she did was take it over. And they wanted her to do that because in the end, that same man that helped her and gave her the pamphlet and the money is the same man she ended up helping in the end, because he got swindled out of his company and his money. She ended up having to help him get his house and his company back. So it's like he will always turn it around to a person that blessed you to bless them back, So it was a beautiful movie. But God shows us that he can revive anything, any of his children that have been loyal to him, as long as you stay true and loyal to him. And he's showing you something, and he said, I'm going to give you greater and better. He's going to give to you, because he's saying you are made for greatness. I built you for this. And when you see this coming, you're not going to see it coming. A whole stranger, the woman she did not even know days before, signed over $1 million corporation to her. Just because of her honesty and loyalty and her godly morals, because she kept them no matter what. When everybody else was stealing and doing all this, and they was working there for years. She had just started. So I just wanted to say that. Much love and all praises to the Most High.